There is a place on Earth that is more hostile, more alien, and less understood than the surface of Mars. It is a world of eternal midnight, where the pressure is great enough to pulverize bone, and the temperature hovers just above freezing. We like to believe that in the 21st century, we have mapped our world. We have satellites that can read a license plate from space and rovers driving across other planets. Yet, right here at home, we are floating on a thin shell of ignorance. Beneath the waves in the deep ocean lie secrets that defy explanation. In August of 2023, we were reminded of just how little we know. 2 miles beneath the surface of the Gulf of Alaska, scientists stumbled upon an object that shouldn't exist. It wasn't a rock, it wasn't a known animal, and it wasn't a piece of trash. It was a golden orb, fused to the ancient rock, with a terrifying detail that suggested something had been waiting inside. This is the story of the discovery that baffled the world's leading biologists, and the unsettling question it left behind. What hatched in the dark? To understand the magnitude of this discovery, we have to understand the environment. The Gulf of Alaska is a place of violent beauty on the surface, but deep below, it is a graveyard of volcanic geology. In the summer of 2023, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, known as NOAA, launched the Seascape Alaska 5 expedition. Their vessel, the Okeanos Explorer, is the flagship of American ocean exploration. It is a floating laboratory staffed by some of the smartest minds in marine science. But the real workhorse of the mission was the Deep Discoverer, a remote-operated vehicle roughly the size of a minivan, equipped with high-definition cameras and robotic arms. This machine is our eyes in the underworld. On August 30th, the Deep Discoverer was nearing the end of a dive on a submerged seamount. The pilots were navigating a landscape of black volcanic rock and white sponge, a monochrome world typical of the Absol zone. But as the ROV's powerful LED floodlights swept across a ridge, the monotony was broken by a flash of color. It was gold. In the deep ocean, gold is a color that rarely exists in nature. Red light is absorbed by the water in the first few meters, so deep-sea creatures tend to be red, black, or transparent. A shiny, golden object is an immediate anomaly. The pilots arrested the ROV's momentum and brought the cameras in for a close-up. The object was dome-shaped, about 4 inches in diameter, and seemingly glued to the rock face. It looked biological, yet completely foreign. The texture wasn't like the hard calcium of a shell, or the porous surface of a sponge. It looked like skin. It looked like tissue. But it was the structural damage on the object that turned this from a curiosity into a potential horror story. On the front of the orb was a gaping, perfectly circular hole. It didn't look like a tear from a predator, it looked like an exit wound. As the live stream broadcasted these images to the world, the scientists on the audio feed were audibly disturbed. One researcher suggested it could be a dead sponge attachment. Another theorized it was an egg casing. But the conversation quickly turned to the hole. As one scientist famously remarked on the recording, "Something tried to get in, or something tried to get out." That simple sentence ignited a firestorm of speculation online. If this was an egg, and it was 4 inches wide, the creature inside was not microscopic. It was substantial. And if that hole was an exit, that creature was currently loose in the vicinity of the ROV, unseen in the darkness beyond the lights. The decision was made to retrieve the specimen. This is a high-stakes operation. The ROV is operating with a time delay. And the manipulator arm is powerful enough to crush rock but needs to be gentle enough to pick up tissue paper. If the orb was brittle, it would crumble into dust, and the secret would be lost. If it was anchored too tightly, the arm might damage it. The pilot extended the robotic claw and engaged the suction sampler. As the nozzle touched the orb, it didn't shatter. It wobbled. It was soft, fleshy, and resilient. With a soft thud, the orb peeled away from the rock and was sucked into the sample canister. When the sample reached the surface, the crew of the Okeanos Explorer was waiting. Under the harsh fluorescent lights of the ship's Squintlab, the orb looked even more alien. The gold luster faded slightly to a brownish yellow, akin to biological keratin. The scientists touched it. It was layered, durable, and clearly organic. They immediately attempted to categorize it. The leading theory was a sponge, perhaps a new species that produces a strange skeletal structure. But sponges have pores, they are filter feeders. This object appeared solid, a casing meant to protect something, not an animal meant to feed. The second theory was an egg case. In the ocean, sharks and skates lay eggs in leathery pouches often called mermaids' purses. But those are usually rectangular, dark, and have tendrils to hook onto seaweed. They don't look like golden domes cemented to volcanic rock. If this was an egg, it belonged to a species that has never been documented in human history. The size of the egg implies a large parent. In the deep ocean, a phenomenon called absolute gigantism causes invertebrates to grow to massive sizes. We see this in the colossal squid and the giant isopod. A creature laying a 4-inch egg could be several feet long, a predator of the deep that has managed to evade our cameras for centuries. The sample was sent to the Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History for DNA barcoding. This is the gold standard of modern biology. You take a tissue sample, sequence the DNA, and match it against a global database of life. But here lies the problem: the database is only as good as what we have already found. If the golden orb belongs to a completely new branch of life, there will be no match. As of late 2024, the results remain inconclusive. The DNA suggests a biological origin, but it doesn't fit neatly into the known families of sponges or cnidarians. We are holding the physical evidence in our hands, yet we still cannot say what it is. This discovery forces us to confront a humbling reality: the ocean is full of dark taxa. These are organisms that we know exist only through traces, but have never seen. We find their DNA in the water, we find their burrows in the mud, and occasionally, we find their discarded shells. The golden orb is likely a remnant of one of these ghost species. It is a piece of a life cycle that happens entirely in the dark. Imagine the creature that created it. It swims through the crushing pressure, finds a suitable rock, secretes a golden biological cement, and lays its spawn. The embryo develops in the cold silence, protected by this golden skin, until it is strong enough to chew its way out and vanish into the abyss. The context of this discovery makes it even more intriguing. The deep ocean is not a barren wasteland. It is a place of strange intelligence and biological anomalies. Just months before the golden orb, scientists found blue goo creatures in the Caribbean, shapeless, paralyzed organisms that defied classification. In 2022, sonar and cameras along the Mid-Atlantic Ridge found lines of perfectly spaced holes in the sediment, looking as if a machine had drilled them. These benthos footprints remain unexplained. The golden orb is just the latest piece of a puzzle that we are struggling to put together. There's also the question of the color. In the deep sea, visual signaling is rare because there is no sunlight. Bioluminescence, creating your own light, is the primary form of communication. Was the golden orb bioluminescent when it was alive? Did it glow in the dark to warn off predators, or to attract prey? By the time the ROV lights hit it, it was likely dormant or dead, a discarded husk. But in its prime, it might have been a beacon in the darkness. The gold color might also be a result of the minerals in the water being incorporated into the shell, a biological armor plating. The golden orb went viral because it touches on a primal fear. It reminds us of the movie Alien, where the crew finds the egg chamber. We are the crew. The ocean is the chamber. And we are poking things we don't understand with robotic sticks. It is a stark reminder that we are not the masters of this planet. We are simply surface dwellers, completely ignorant of the massive, complex ecosystem that operates beneath us. Today, the orb sits in a jar of ethanol in a museum storage room. It is safe, inert, and silent. But the hole in its side remains a question mark. Whatever came out of that hole is still down there. It is swimming through the underwater canyons of Alaska, feeding, growing, and perhaps laying more golden eggs. As we continue to push the boundaries of exploration, sending our robots deeper and staying longer, we are guaranteed to find more impossible things. We are entering a golden age of ocean discovery, where every dive has the potential to rewrite the textbooks. The golden orb is a message from the deep. It tells us that the earth is still wild. It tells us that magic and monsters are not just things of myth, but biological realities waiting to be classified. Until we return to that seamount, until we catch the architect of the Golden Dome, we can only speculate. And perhaps, the mystery is better than the answer. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the unknown and want to stay ahead of the strangest discoveries our modern world has to offer, make sure to subscribe to Mysteries of the Modern World. We don't just report the news, we explore the edges of reality, from the bottom of the ocean to the signals from deep space. If it's a mystery, you'll find it here. Leave a comment below with your theory. What do you think hatched from the golden orb? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.